but I actually spoke to the AI agent in Veed and asked the AI, it's the AI that asked AI to like make that change sort of thing. So Comet has finally launched. This is an AI browser, and it does the job of, which I think is something that Deer is not launched with, which I was particularly excited about, is the Agentic thing. You can actually ask it to do stuff and it will go off and it will respond to emails and this and that and the other. We have Max here, we talk about Warmwind and the opposite side of it, which to give an insight into those who haven't heard or whatever, Warmwind is like an operating system. Is that right, Max? Like it's not a browser, it's actually a layer up from that.
Yeah. Well, the community is still debating if we can call it an operating system, but for everything except a custom kernel, this is an operating system. And yeah, we're basically one layer above, as you told. Yeah, we're doing it in a more general way, basically.
The thing that I like that Comet cannot do is this idea that you used an example of an old real estate app that just looks awful, and Warmwind can actually go in and use that system because it can see the interface or whatever. It's not restricted by what's in the browser.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, not. I don't want to give you a feeling I want to trash on Comet, because I think it's a phenomenal product, and I probably going to use it myself in the future. But I think it's like a completely different use case from my perspective, because obviously a Comet is something you would use if you have a demand now. So you would like to have your emails answered or whatever. And it's highly dependent on your machine. So your laptop has to be on, and while that's on and you have the browser open, it's working. I think that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And the whole thing or how I like to discriminate what we're doing is everything that's not on demand. So basically background tasks. You set it up once and then just it goes off and does things for you in the background while you're not even there. Typical tasks are more like whenever an email comes in, whenever a new order gets created, every day at 7 o'clock, every day at 9 o'clock. And because it's a completely independent operating system and it's spun up on its own server, so we have these microservers, and for every instance, like we call them spaces, a microserver gets created. You get the ownership of this microserver, and then it's doing things for you even while you're not online. So you would basically be able to shut off your PC because it has its completely own machine in which it can operate.
I've been using Comet the last day or so. Right, as soon as the email came in, I started using it. And what I did do is I was updating a CMS in Webflow. I was like, put the information from this web page and put it into the CMS in Webflow. And what I found is that it's reasoning about the web page, so it doesn't know which buttons to press. Long story short, it couldn't figure out how to insert the information into Webflow, but it tried a bunch of stuff and ultimately failed, which then led me on to this idea that it feels like it would be very good for background tasks as well. I just found that because it just doesn't know the web pages and it's trying to just figure out the whole picture and whatever and click certain buttons or whatever, that it's not going to save you time in the immediate future. It's just, again, it's a background thing. One thing that was really interesting that happened was I was doing some of the shorts that we were making for this show, and I was using Veed, which adds subtitles. And I just said, can you make all of because it did it in American English, so Z's instead of S's and things like that. Can you do that? And I thought it was just going to go in and click the words and do a spell check or whatever. But I actually spoke to the AI agent in Veed and asked the AI. It's the AI that asked the AI to make that change sort of thing. So it was really funny. But all that to be said, the background thing is certainly, I think, the way that these sort of things go.
Well, actually, I think we are also very, very hyped about this AI layering, because what is super interesting is obviously when you just want to get some information, ChatGPT web search is much faster than the agent going into browser and searching individual websites. So what we see a lot of users which are currently testing it is doing, also installing the offline app, or not offline, but the PC app for ChatGPT, and this is the best way to get a lot of informations quickly, because web search is always a lot slower. And what I think will happen in the very near future is that something like Arc or the Dia browser will also be just used inside our system. So AI is talking to AI.
What would interest me in that aspect is, do you guys only evaluate the visual aspects, or do you guys also, let's say, if you have a browser, you always also import the entire HTML into the context?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest differences. So we actually only use completely vision-based interaction. So there's no, because we don't work with a specific browser or anything. So we are not so deeply integrated in the browser. We are not only supporting web apps. We support everything that runs anywhere. So to be this general, you have to go to the layer where humans work. So completely visually, basically. And this allows for a lot more data and understanding to transfer over to the AI brain, basically. But I think what happens for Comet right now, when you talk about the CRM task, is because 1.5 years ago we also tested with HTML context or the DOM tree, and looked at the HTML elements and how we could click on them. But as it turns out, the HTML page, this information lacks a lot of context, because only once you simulate the whole JSON JavaScript code, the whole HTML build up and rendering process, then the website gets created. And only after this whole creation process, things get into context. So you see, okay, this button is slightly over this image, so this means probably when I click this will open the image and not the thing below that. So there are a lot of clues which happen on a vision base, which you could not do just with a browser or with a code examination, basically.
This is part of a larger conversation on my show, Cmd+AI, which we stream live every single week. We discuss the news and all things related to AI in the world of design and web. Catch us next week and join in the banter.